Ethan Walker stood at the edge of the spaceport docking bay, his eyes scanning the crowd. He wore the uniform of the Terra Security Corps. The badge on his chest glinted under the bright lights. He kept his posture straight and alert. New recruits spoke of the honor in serving at the main terminal. They did not speak of the long hours. Ethan stayed focused despite the ache in his shoulders. He had learned to stand for hours without letting his guard down. The docking bay doors opened with a hiss. A large transport ship from the Lithorian Empire shimmered into view. The ship's hull was smooth and pale green. Symbols of peace glowed. On its side, Leia stepped off the ramp. Her tall frame and slender limbs gave her an elegant look. Her skin was a pale gray-green. 2 small horns curved gently from her forehead. She wore the formal robes of a diplomat. Simple lines and soft. Fabric spoke of her high status. Ethan noted the calm strength in her bearing. Leia paused to survey the port. She held a small silver case at her side. The case contained peace treaties and diplomatic gifts. Her deep violet eyes shone with hope. She believed in a better future. Between humans and Lithorians. Years of tension and mistrust had kept the two species apart. Now they would meet in talks that could change history. Ethan approached with measured steps. His uniform jacket was crisp and clean. He offered his hand. Leia surveyed him for a moment, then extended her long fingers. He felt a slight tremor when their hands touched. He kept his voice steady. "Welcome to Terra Station, Ambassador Leia," he said. Her voice was soft, yet firm and clear. "Thank you, Officer Walker. I am honored to visit your world." Word of her arrival spread fast. Holographic displays lit up around the bay, announcing the start of peace talks. Journalists and diplomats watched from a safe distance. Security drones hovered overhead. Every camera turned toward Leia. Ethan guided her to a waiting hovercar. The vehicle rose gently on magnetic lifts. Leia's robe floated slightly as she stepped inside. He followed and settled into the front seat beside her. The city lights raced by outside the window. Towers and spires reached toward the dark sky. Trade ships glowed like fireflies in the air lanes. Inside the car, Leia opened the silver case. She removed a small crystal box. Inside was a woven ribbon of Lithorian silk. The ribbon shimmered between green and blue. It was a gift for the human delegation leader. She placed it carefully on the seat next to her. Ethan watched her every move. A sudden blast rocked the car. The city lights flickered. Ethan's heart slammed in his chest. He gripped the dashboard. The hovercar lurched. Leia gasped and clutched. The seat edged. Alarms blared in the car. Red lights flashed. Ethan hit a control. "Hold on," he shouted. The car dropped several meters. Outside, he saw a rogue ship fire on the city. Dark smoke rose from a burning tower. The rogue faction had attacked without warning. Panic erupted on the streets below. The driver's voice came over a crackling speaker. "We must get to a safe zone." Ethan ignored the driver. "I need to protect the ambassador," he said. He grabbed Leia's arm and led her out of the car. The doors opened with a hiss. Smoke and dust filled the air. People ran in all directions. Security drones circled overhead. Ethan held Leia close. She looked at him with wide eyes. They ran toward a nearby plaza. Ethan shouted into his unit, "All units, this is Walker. Protect the ambassador and secure civilians. Repeat, secure all non-combatants." His voice was firm. Other security officers responded with confirmation. Leia followed without protest. They reached the plaza just as another blast ripped through a wall. Debris fell around them. Ethan spotted a group of civilians trapped under rubble. He dashed forward. Leia tried to help, but Ethan blocked her path. "Stay back," he ordered. He lifted a heavy beam with the help of 2 officers. A woman and her child crawled free. The crowd cheered as they helped them to safety. Suddenly, a blast came from the side. Ethan saw a stray energy bolt heading toward Leia. Without thinking, he pushed her to the ground. The bolt struck him in the shoulder. He screamed as he fell. Leia froze. She saw blood soaking through Ethan's uniform. He lay on the ground, eyes half closed. A dark stain spread on the concrete beneath him. She crawled to his side. Her horns brushed against the ledge. She knelt and placed a hand over his wound. Heat from his skin warmed her palm. She looked up at the sky. The rogue ship hovered above, firing on the city below. Laya's mind raced. Her duty was to talk peace. Now she had to save a human life. She reached into her robes. With careful fingers, she removed a small healing device. It glowed with a soft blue light. She placed it against Ethan's wound. The device emitted a soothing pulse. Ethan's breathing eased. He blinked and looked at Laya. He tried to speak, but his voice failed. Laya activated the device's next setting. A field of light surrounded Ethan's shoulder. The wound closed slowly. The pain in his face eased. He opened his mouth. "Thank you," he whispered. Laya smiled. "You protected me. I owe you my life." Sirens wailed in the distance as emergency teams arrived. Laya gently stood and offered her hand. Ethan took it, wincing. From the pain, together they moved toward the city evacuation point. Laya walked beside him as if he were the most important person in the world. Ethan felt his heart beat faster. A guard called out, "Ambassador Laya, follow me." Laya nodded and let the guard guide her. She paused and looked back at Ethan. He watched her through the rising dust. She devoted herself to his care, but she would also carry the memory of his sacrifice forever. Their journey had begun with an attack. Now it would continue toward hope and healing. Ethan opened his eyes to a soft white glow. His head throbbed. He lay on a wide bed inside a quiet room. Machines beeped at his side. He tried to move, but pain stopped him. A gentle voice spoke. "He is awake." Ethan turned his head. Laya stood by the window. She wore a simple blue gown. Her eyes were red from worry. Ethan blinked and tried to speak. "Where am I?" Laya took a careful step forward. "You are safe in the Starport hospital. The medics treated your wound. You lost a lot of blood. I waited until you opened your eyes." Ethan tried to sit up. A nurse rushed in. "Sir, please lie back. You need rest." The nurse adjusted the machines. "Your injuries are serious, but healing well." The nurse left. Ethan looked at Laya. "Why are you here?" Laya closed her eyes briefly. "I could not leave. I needed to know you lived." Ethan's heart pounded. He managed a weak smile. "Thank you." Laya placed a small hand over his. "You risked yourself to save me. I had to do something." They sat in silence. Outside, the station's emergency alarms faded. A calm settled over the city. Laya studied Ethan's face. He looked vulnerable. She felt a strange pull in her chest. A doctor entered. "Ambassador Laya, I must ask you to step back." "This ward is restricted." Laya bowed her head. "I understand." "I will wait outside." The doctor led Ethan into more tests. Laya stood by the door. She watched through a glass panel. Ethan lay still as medic hands worked. His uniform was stained with dried blood. She felt tears prick her eyes. Hours passed. Theo, the station's chief physician, finally nodded. "He will recover. His strength is remarkable." Leah exhaled. "Thank you, doctor." The doctor stepped away. Laya pressed her forehead against the glass. She whispered, "I owe him my life." Night fell. The hospital hall grew quiet. Laya drifted to sleep in a small chair outside Ethan's room. She held a holoimage of the peace treaty ribbon. Its soft glow comforted her. Ethan's dream was of running. He chased a figure through a burning plaza. He raised his hand to shield it. Heat and light blinded him. He felt a sharp pain. Then darkness. He awoke again. Laya sat at his side. Her face was pale. Ethan reached for her. "You are here?" he said softly. Laya smiled faintly. "I could not leave." Ethan tried to speak more but could not. Laya stayed close and held his hand. The next morning, Laya asked a guard to fetch water and fruit for Ethan. He ate slowly. Laya watched every bite. Ethan cleared his throat. "Tell me about you." "About your world." Laya looked surprised. "You want to know?" Ethan nodded. "You saved me. I want to know who you are." Laya's eyes brightened. She told him of the Lothorian homeworld, of crystal forests and floating rivers, of a people who valued harmony. Her voice was calm and clear. Ethan listened, forgetting his pain. She showed him a small sphere. It contained a hologram of her city. Towers of crystal sparkled. Ethan leaned forward. "It is beautiful." Laya's lips curved. "It is my home." She paused. "I hope one day you can visit." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. "I would like that." Over the next days, Ethan's strength grew. Laya visited often. They spoke of life, duty, and hope. Their bond deepened. Laya learned how humans ate simple food. Ethan learned how Lithorians listened without interrupting. One afternoon, the head nurse brought news. "Officer Walker, your wounds are healed enough to be moved. You will be discharged soon." Ethan stood carefully. Laya rushed to his side. "I will help you," she said. Ethan reached for her hand. "Thank you, Laya." As they walked toward the exit, station staff paused to watch. Ethan felt proud and nervous. Laya guided him to a waiting hoverbed. He lay down. She placed the treaty ribbon on his chest. "Keep this, a symbol of our hope." Ethan touched the silk. He looked at Laya. "I will protect it as you protected me." The medics wheeled him away. Laya watched until the door closed. She whispered, "Be safe, Ethan Walker." Their paths had crossed in violence. Now they walked toward peace. Their trust had begun in pain, but it would grow in hope. Laya stood in the quiet corridor outside the recovery ward. The soft hum of the station's life support systems filled the air. She tucked her long robe around her slender frame. The doctors had refused to let her in. Human rules did not allow diplomats in a secure medical bay. But Laya could not leave Ethan Walker alone. Every night for the last 2 days, Laya had come to this door. She pressed her palm against the smooth wall. Her violet eyes shone with worry. Ethan's soft breathing came through the door's small speaker. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "I must help him." A guard approached. His uniform was dark blue, marked Terra Security Corps. He carried a rifle casually at his side. Laya watched him pass without looking up. When he was far enough, she slipped a small device from her robe. It glowed a faint blue. It could open this door without alarms. Her heart pounded. Laya pressed her finger on the device's touchpad. A soft click echoed in the still hall. The door slid open. She stepped inside. The room was brighter than the corridor. Machines chirped as they monitored Ethan's health. White curtains hung between beds. Ethan lay in the bed nearest her. She moved quietly to his side. The ribbon from her world lay on the small table. She picked it up and held it to her chest. She remembered his gentle face when he first awoke. Now he lay sleeping, his face pale under the bright lights. Laya reached for her healing device. The medics had taken it away. She hoped it still worked. She pressed her palm against Ethan's shoulder. The device glowed softly. Ethan stirred. His eyelids fluttered. Ethan opened his eyes. He saw Laya's gray-green face above him. For a moment he was too weak to speak. Laya smiled and stroked his hair back from his forehead. "You should not be here," Ethan said in a low voice. Laya's voice trembled. "I could not stay away." Ethy's brow furrowed. "They will punish you." Laya knelt beside the bed. "If you suffer alone, I cannot forgive myself." She lifted his hand. "You saved my life?" Ethy reached for her hand. His grip was weak. She used the healing device on his arm. A gentle light eased the bruises left by his earlier wounds. Laya felt relief when the pain lines on Ethan's face softened. "Thank you," Ethan whispered. Laya pressed her forehead against his. "You are safe." A sudden voice broke the moment. "Laya Noldor, step away from the patient." A stern-faced nurse stood at the door. She waved her arms. "You must leave now." Laya released Ethan's hand. She stepped back. "I cannot." "He is hurt," the nurse frowned. "Diplomats are not allowed in this ward. You risk your status." Laya looked at Ethan. His breathing had slowed. She swallowed. "I understand, but I cannot leave him." The nurse pointed at the door. "You have 5 seconds." Laya closed her eyes. She did not want to leave Ethan, but she also needed to follow her mission. She stepped toward the door. Ethan's eyes opened. "Laya, wait," he said weakly. Laya turned and knelt beside him once more. She held his hand. "I will stay close." The nurse's face tightened. She stepped forward. You are in breach of protocol. Please exit immediately. Laia rose slowly. She placed a gentle touch on Ethan's shoulder. I will come back. She walked to the door. The nurse closed it behind her with a hiss. Laia stood in the corridor. She pressed her back against the wall. Fear and sorrow swirled in her mind. That night, Laia could not sleep. She thought of Ethan lying alone. She decided to risk everything. Laia packed the ribbon and her healing device in a small satchel. She fitted the security override device around her wrist. She slipped out of her quarters and into the corridor. The station's lights were dim. Few people walked the hallways at this hour. Laia kept to the shadows. She replaced her formal robe with a simple cloak. It hid her horns and her dignity as a diplomat. She felt a pang of sadness. She was betraying her people's trust. But she could not betray Ethan. Laia reached the ward door again. She held her breath and pressed the override. The door hissed open. She slipped inside. She hurried to Ethan's bed. The soft beep of the life monitors felt like a heartbeat in her chest. She found Ethan awake and confused. His eyes widened when he saw her. Laia, how did you... He began. Laia knelt and touched his hand. I will not leave you. She removed a small cloth and cleaned the dried blood from his forehead. You need care. Ethan tried to sit up. Laia gently held him down. Rest, I will stay. She hooked a small vial to the side of his bed. It released a mild sedative. Ethan's eyelids grew heavy. Laia watched until he drifted off. Then she placed the healing device back in his hand. A faint alarm sounded. Laia's heart leaped. The nurse on duty shouted through the speaker. Unauthorized presence detected. Security teams en route. Laia moved swiftly. She unplugged the water line and healing device. She gathered her satchel and cloak. She paused and pressed her palm to Ethan's. I will return, she promised. Laia slipped out just as guards arrived. The door closed behind her. She heard the guards shouting inside. Laia ducked into the maintenance shafts. She crawled through narrow passages. Her mind raced. She had lost her diplomatic watch. She would face court for this, but she had relieved Ethan's pain. She felt a calm peace. Later, she sat before a closed ventilation grate. She pressed her ear against the metal. She heard Ethan's voice in the ward. He was talking softly to a nurse. Laia smiled. Her choice had mattered. She looked at the stars through a small grate. Each shining light reminded her of hope. She closed her eyes and whispered, I will help you recover. Laia stayed hidden until dawn. Then she crept back to her quarters. She bathed and dressed in her formal robes. Her public face would return. She steeled herself for the trials ahead. As the morning sun rose over Terra Station, Ambassador Laia entered the Peace Hall. She stood before the human and Lithorian delegates. Her heart beat strong. When meeting broke for lunch, a breathless guard approached her. He bowed low. Ambassador, security reports you visited the hospital without clearance. Laia nodded. Yes, I could not leave him, the guard blinked. The officer you visited holds the highest respect for you. He wished to know why you would risk so much. Laia's gaze drifted to the doorway. Ethan Walker stood there, leaning on a cane. His uniform was neat. His face had a determined look. Laia met his eyes. He raised a hand in greeting. Then the guard spoke again. He requests permission to thank you personally. Laia stepped forward. Her heart soared. She would face the council's judgment. But in that moment, she knew she was willing to risk everything for him. Together, Ethan Walker and Ambassador Laia left the hall. Their steps made a path toward an uncertain future. But they walked side by side, bound by trust and hope. Morning light filtered through the reinforced window of the command center. Ethan Walker stood beside the holographic table. His wound had healed, but he still wore a light brace on his shoulder. The council officers looked tense. They studied reports of fresh attacks from the rogue faction. The faction ships had raided 2 supply convoys overnight. Supplies were vital for the peace talks to continue. Ethan tapped the table. Red markers blinked over trade routes. They strike here, here, and here, he said. They want to cripple our efforts, Council Officer Harper frowned. We need A plan to stop them. The diplomats are due to meet again tomorrow. Ethan met Harper's eyes. I volunteer to lead the counter-operation. I know the station layout. I can guide our forces. Harper hesitated. Walker, your injury is still fresh. Johan's jaw set. I can do it. Our mission depends on it. Laia stood at the edge of the room. She felt fear twist in her chest. She stepped forward. Ethan is right. We must act now. The officers looked at her. The ambassador's voice held calm authority. Laia continued. If I join, I can use my shield generator to protect the team. My device can block the enemy's energy weapons. Harper's eyes widened. Laia, that device is diplomatic property. Using it in combat risks your immunity. Laia nodded. I understand. But if we fail, peace talks end. I choose to risk everything. Ethan reached for Laia's hand. Laia, you cannot. The device is powerful. It could be damaged and you could be lost. Laia turned to him. I saved you once. Now I will stand with you. A murmur rose in the room. Officer Parker spoke. Our soldiers are brave, but they lack shield support. Liaison forces would suffer heavy casualties. Harper tapped the table. Very well, Walker will lead 2 squads. Liaison Ambassador Laia Nuldor will accompany. Ethan felt a wave of relief and worry. Laia's face was calm, but her eyes shone with resolve. Later, Ethan and Laia prepared in the armory. Ethan checked his blaster and grenades. Laia held her shield generator close. It looked like a small silver cylinder with glowing runes. A crew technician calibrated it. Ambassador, this will protect you within a 10-meter radius, the technician said. Laia nodded. Thank you. She strapped it to her belt. Ethan offered his shoulder. Are you sure? Laia smiled. I will. Follow your lead. The squads boarded dropships. Ethan and Laia were in the lead craft. The engines roared. The ship dropped through the atmosphere. The ground below was scarred by recent strikes. Fires still burned in supply yards. The ship landed beside a ruined factory. Ethan jumped out. Hot wind and dust swirled. He held up a hand. Stay close. Laia activated her device. A pale blue shield shimmered around them. Soldiers advanced. Ethan gave orders. Alpha Team, secure the east wall. Bravo, clear the roof. Laia, follow Bravo and protect them from energy fire. Laia nodded. She moved swiftly. Her shield deflected several blasts. Soldiers behind her advanced with confidence. Ethan led Alpha Team through a broken gate. They found enemy troops waiting. Blaster fire crackled. Ethan fired his weapon, hitting 2 attackers. A third charged him. Ethan ducked. A grenade exploded near his foot. He winced. Laia's shield flickered as it absorbed an energy beam. She adjusted the generator's power. The beam faded. Laia darted forward and knocked out a trooper with a quick strike. Ethan returned and saw her standing among soldiers. He shouted over the noise, Laia, cover Alpha. We will flank from the left. Laia raised her shield. Go. Alpha Team moved. Ethan led them around a stack of crates. He signaled to soldiers. They opened fire from behind. Enemy troops fell back. Ethan pressed the advantage. Bravo Team called in. Roof secured? No hostiles? Ethan signaled to Laia. She lifted her device. The dome expanded to cover both teams. Together they pushed the rogue fighters into retreat. Suddenly a blast from a hidden turret struck a soldier. He cried out. Ethan rushed forward but stumbled as debris collapsed near him. He fell and cried out in pain. Dust filled the air. Laia's shield pulsed. She sprinted to Ethan. She pushed away rubble with her free hand. Beneath the debris lay a jagged metal beam pressing on Ethan's leg. He winced. Laia knelt and examined the injury. Her eyes widened. Ethan, you're pinned. Ethan tried to stand but could not. Pain seared through him. Laia pressed her device to the beam. Blue light seeped around it. She aimed her free hand at the turret's location. A pulse shot out. The turret's energy core overloaded and exploded. Soldiers cheered as the turret fell silent. Laia turned back. She used the device's strength field to lift the beam. Ethan gasped but freed his leg. Laia supported him. His face was pale. She wrapped an arm around his waist. I have you. Ethan leaned against her. Thank you, Laia smiled through tears. Soldiers rushed to clear a path. Ethan limped forward. Laia held him close. The squad regrouped. Ethan looked at Laia's device. We could not have done this without you, he said. Laia shook her head. We did it together. Ethan turned to the teams. Secure the area and gather intel. Laia and I will return to the station for debrief. Laia nodded. The shield faded. She sighed in relief as they boarded the dropship. Ethan placed a hand on Laia's shoulder. You saved my life again. Laia looked out at the battlefield below. I will always protect you. The ship rose. Below, soldiers cleared the ruins. The rogue faction's threat had receded. They returned to the station. The council awaited them in the same command center. Ethan and Laia stood side by side. Harper spoke first. Thanks to Ambassador Laia's actions and Officer Walker's leadership, the rogue threat has been neutralized. Our forces hold strong. Laia bowed her head. Ethan held out a datapad. Here are the reconnaissance reports. Harper examined them. He nodded. Excellent work. I recommend we resume peace talks immediately. Laia stepped forward. I agree. Let our actions speak louder than words. Ethan watched Laia. Pride and admiration filled him. He thought of their journey from pain to partnership. Later, as they left the command center, Ethan paused in the hallway. He turned to Laia. I owe you more than I can say. Will you have dinner with me tonight? Laia's eyes softened. I would like that. They walked together toward the mess hall. The station lights glowed around them. Their bond had been forged in battle. Now it would grow in friendship and trust. The dropship touched down near the rebel base at dawn. Ethan Walker tested his shoulder brace. It throbbed, but he felt ready. He and Laia stood before the squads. Their faces were set with determination. Ethan spoke in a clear voice. We will. Approach from two sides. Alpha team with me, Bravo with Laia. Move fast and stay alert. Laia nodded. Her silver collar glowed. She activated the diplomatic shield device. A blue dome formed around her squad. They moved forward in tight formation. Thin. Towers of metal rose on the horizon. The rebel base was built around old cargo containers. Broken machines lay scattered. A haze of smoke drifted over the area. Ethan led Alpha Team through a narrow path. He checked his scanner. It picked up heat signatures ahead. He signaled the team to stop. Laia and Bravo Team crouched behind a pile of rubble. She raised her device. Get ready, she whispered. Ethan counted down on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Go. Both teams burst forward. Blaster fire lit the sky. Alpha Team moved left. Bravo moved right under Laia's shield. Laia's device hummed. Beams struck her shield and faded. Soldiers under her dome felt safe. They fired back with steady aim. Ethan saw a squad of rebels by a control tower. He pointed. A grenade arced through the air and exploded. The tower door fell open. Ethan charged inside. Laia heard the explosion. She sprinted to support Ethan. Bravo Team followed under the shield. Inside the tower, rebels lay traps. An energy net activated and snared Ethan's leg. He dropped to one knee. He fired his blaster, cutting wires. Outside, Laia heard his shout. She pressed her device against the walls. The shield flared and canceled a secondary beam. She kicked down the door. She found Ethan pinned by the net. He grunted in pain. She knelt beside him. Ethan! She cried. Rebel soldiers filed into the hall. Their weapons raised. Laia stood and raised her device. The shield expanded to cover both of them. Beams struck the dome. The device glowed brighter. Soldiers paused, stunned. Laia aimed at their weapons. A pulse surged and disabled the rifles. Ethan struggled to free himself. Laia bent to cut the net. She used a blade from her satchel. The net snapped. Ethan stood with her help, his face pale. His leg bled from a deep cut. Laia touched his wound. The device glowed softly. The pain lessened. Ethan said, Thank you, Laia. Again. Laia smiled. You saved my peace mission. Now. I save you, he winced. They may come after us, Laia nodded. We must move. They left the tower. Outside, Alpha and Bravo teams fought rebels in the open. Laia called out, "Ethan, this way!" She led him to a concealed tunnel. A squad followed. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the ground. Debris rained down, a heavy beam crashed onto Ethan's back. He cried out. Laya turned. She found him lying face down. The beam pinned him to the ground. His breathing shallow. Rebel marksmen took aim from a distance. Their weapons locked on Ethan. Laya single quotes S heart pounded. She activated full power. The shield expanded beyond the dome. It formed a cage around the beam. Rebels fired. Beams fizzled on the shield. Laya ran forward. She placed both hands on the beam. The device glowed blue. She allowed its power to lift the beam. Ethan's body slid free. Laya caught him. He was barely conscious. Alpha team arrived. Soldier Harris ran beside Laya. "We have to get him out," Laya nodded. She carried Ethan in her arms. Soldiers formed a protective circle under her shield. They moved slowly through enemy fire. Laya's device took the hits. Her cloak whipped in the blast. They reached a safe zone. Medics rushed in. Laya laid Ethan on a stretcher. His face was pale. Blood stained his shirt. A medic checked his pulse. "He's alive, but we must evacuate him." Laya watched as they loaded him into a hover ambulance. Her chest felt tight. She whispered, "Stay with me, Ethan." The ambulance took off. Laya followed by drop-ship. Inside the ambulance, Ethan's eyes opened. He saw Laya's face above him. Tears glistened in her violet eyes. "Laya," he whispered. Laya took his hand. "I have you." Ethan tried to smile. "You risked everything." Laya shook her head. "I would risk more." The ambulance docked at the station hospital. Medics rushed Ethan inside. Laya followed, her cloak dragging behind. Dr. Theo waited. He took one look at Ethan's condition. "He needs immediate surgery." Laya's heart sank. She stood by as surgeons worked. Hours passed. Ethan's monitors beeped steadily. Finally, Dr. Theo emerged. He nodded at Laya. "He is stable. He will survive, but the recovery will be long." Laya bowed her head. "Thank you." She wiped her tears. Later, Ethan opened his eyes. The room was dim. Laya sat beside him, holding his hand. He tried to speak. His voice was weak. "I owe you." Laya squeezed his hand. "You owe me nothing." Ethan's gaze met hers. "I am a human. You are an alien diplomat. We stand worlds apart." Laya smiled softly. "Distance means nothing when lives are at stake." Ethan's lips curved. "You saved more than my life? You saved our chance at peace?" Laya's eyes shone. "We saved each other." Outside, the station announced the end of the rebel threat. Crowds cheered. Humans and Lithorians celebrated together. Ethan and Laya heard the cheers. They looked at each other. Ethan said, "We have hope." Laya nodded. "Hope and trust." They sat side by side. Their bond, born in battle, grew stronger. Peace talks resumed with fresh energy. Delegates spoke of unity. Symbols of cooperation were shared. Laya stood at the podium. She announced a joint security force. Ethan watched proudly. Later, Ethan visited Laya's ship. She waited on the ramp. They stood close. Ethan held a fist of wildflowers. Laya carried a small box. Ethan offered the flowers. "For you." Laya accepted them. She opened her box. Inside was a star-shaped crystal. It glowed faintly. "For you?" she said. They smiled. Worlds apart yet united. Their story had many parts. This was the fifth. The peace hall was filled with light. Humans and Lithorians sat together in rows. The atmosphere buzzed with hope. Ethan Walker stood at the entrance. He wore a clean uniform. His shoulder brace was gone. He felt strong again. Laya stood on the stage. Her robes were formal and bright. Her face was calm. She held a small crystal plaque. It bore the symbol of a new security force. Delegates watched eagerly. Ethan stepped forward. He paused to look at the audience. He spotted soldiers and diplomats from both sides. Some clapped. Others nodded in respect. Laya began to speak. Her voice echoed in the hall. "We gather today not as separate worlds, but as partners. We share a goal, lasting peace." Yehan listened. He felt pride in her words. He watched her eyes shine. Laya continued, I propose a joint human-alien security force. It will protect our peoples. It will learn our ways. Together we will stand guard over peace, delegates whispered. The idea was bold. It sounded like a dream. Ethan moved to Laya's side. He offered his support. He placed a hand on her shoulder. She smiled at him. Laya added, Officer Ethan Walker will serve as the first human liaison. I will serve as the Lothorian envoy. Together, we will lead this force. Ethan bowed his head. He felt honored. A council member rose. He cleared his throat. Ambassador Laya, Officer Walker, your proposal moves my heart. I second this motion. Other members stood too. One by one they voiced support. Applause filled the room. The council speaker rapped the gavel. The motion passes unanimously. Crowds cheered. Chairs scraped as people rose. Ethan and Laya faced each other. Laya whispered, We did it! Ethan nodded, his smile wide. We did. After the ceremony, a celebration began in the courtyard. Banners from both worlds flew side by side. Lanterns glowed in pale blue and green. Ayan walked beside Laya. They carried cups of sparkling juice. The air was warm. Music played softly. Laya looked at Ethan. I have something for you. She reached into her robes. She held a small box. Ethan stopped. His heart skipped a beat. He opened the box. Inside was a silver pen. It showed the old symbols of their worlds joined. Laya pinned it to his uniform. For courage and kindness, Ethan's eyes filled. He touched the pin. Thank you, Laya smiled. I have one for you too. She reached behind her robe. She pulled out a human badge. It read, Honorary Human Defender. She pinned it on her robe. Ethan stepped back. I am honored. Laya looked around. This is more than politics. This is a promise. They walked through the crowd. People greeted them. A young soldier approached. He held out a helmet. Sir, ma'am, would you join us in a patrol tomorrow? Laya and Ethan exchanged a glance. Ethan nodded. We will. The soldier grinned and bowed. He ran off. Laya and Ethan found a quiet corner. They watched families from both worlds laugh together. Children ran under the lanterns. Laya spoke softly. Remember our first meeting? The attack at the port? Ethan nodded. I thought the world would end that day. Laya smiled. I thought I would fail my mission. They both laughed. Ethan said, We found hope in chaos. Laya reached for his hand. They held fingers together. The crowd cheered again. Fireworks erupted above. Sparks of light danced in the sky. Ethan pulled Laya close. This is our reward. Laya leaned on his shoulder. Our bond helped heal two worlds. They stood under the lights. The night air was cool. Their hands stayed linked. As the celebration continued, Ethan and Laya stepped onto a small platform. An announcer called their names. They waved to the crowd. Both humans and Lothorians cheered. Laya spoke into a microphone. Tonight we celebrate unity. Ethan added, Tomorrow we protect it. Cheers rose again. Later, as the hall emptied, Leah and Ethan walked along the water's edge. Blue lights glowed on the surface. The reflection shimmered. And looked at Laya. What happens now? Laya considered. We build trust. We train the new force. We learn from each other. Ethan smiled. And maybe we continue our journey together. Laya's eyes sparkled. I would like that very much. They sat on a bench. The night was quiet except for distant music. Laya rested her head on Ethan's shoulder. He wrapped an arm around her. Ethan thought of their first meeting, the attack, the hospital, the battles. Each moment led to this. Laya thought of her world and her duty. She had risked everything. She had gained a friend and more. They sat in peaceful silence. Stars shone above. Ethan spoke softly. Thank you for everything, Laya smiled. Thank you for showing me humanity. They sat until dawn. Their bond was strong. Their worlds would be safe, and their story would live on as a symbol of hope and trust.